Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast, a place where we focus on the business side of art to help you attract more customers, increase profits, and ultimately live a life of creativity and financial freedom. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and this is another May Mural Month episode where all throughout the month of May, I am interviewing the best of the best muralists who have been doing this for a long time and have the best advice to give. And I personally just love to talk about painting large scale because there's just different hoops to jump through. They're different hoops. It's a wild ride in painting murals, but it's so profitable. It's so much fun. And I like to talk to people who are also been doing it for a long time. So this week's episode features international street artist Peachzz, aka Megan Russell. You'll hear Megan tell her story about how she got into murals using spray paint with a theme of birds and wildlife, which evolved into also painting the human form and to now having a style that blends into both human and nature, which I think is very interesting because a lot of the times I'll talk to an artist and they're primarily figure painters or they're primarily nature enthusiasts, but she blends both. And so that right away just caught my eye. If you look at her Instagram, you can see blends of both in her videos, and it's just such a cool thing. But Megan got her start by applying to mural or street art festivals and shares with us her tips on how to put her best foot forward when sending in an application. So she has a template that she uses, and in this interview, she goes over it page by page to give you a better idea of what kind of effort is needed to land these high competition jobs that are the call for artists or requests for qualifications for the international or even, local mural calls for artists. And Megan inspired me to create more of what I want to create. Just hearing her talk about her passion for painting, and as opposed to, me leaning into commission work all the time, like, okay, I'm just going to go. I really, as she was talking, I was picturing myself just going in downtown Springfield or Rogersville, where the areas where I live, and just getting permission for a wall and just doing something for free, like completely on my own terms of something that I just really want to do, because there's so many domino effects that come in with that rather than just painting something somebody else wants you to. And so the wheels are turning to do something really big and fun and on my own terms here locally. And it's inspired by Megan. And I think every artist will get something from this interview, no matter if you're a muralist or not. But let me know what you think about this week's episode with Peachzz, or Megan Russell. Hello. Hi. We have Megan here, and I look forward to you telling me all about your very interesting mural career and how you got the name Peachzz as your art name. So tell us all the things.
I really wish that the story of my art name was that interesting, but actually, I've had that name as an online alias since I was like 14, and I've just never changed it. So everything online was Peachzz. And the reason it wasn't ES was because everything, it was all taken. So it was ZZ. And then I was just like, oh, this just works as a graffiti name. So I just kind of carried it forward. But yeah, I've been painting for over 10 years now, which is like a long time. Spray painting, anyway, mural work. And I started when I was doing illustration and graphics at university. And then I just started painting like 3 times a week for like fun. And then over time, it just started developing into career. It got really popular, the art form, which is amazing. And I think the wave just took me. Yeah, so I started doing like a lot of wildlife pieces, but I've been like developing my style a little bit more as I've developed. So yeah.
So you use primarily spray paint.
Yes, yeah. So I would say like 80% spray paint, and I like base the wall with like emulsion. But to be honest, like I really want to start using wall paint a lot more in terms of, but in like an environmental sense, also potentially more cost efficient, 'cause spray paint is very expensive, and like a health thing. So that's like my next step, I think, is to like get more into like hand painting things. And I love the way it looks as well. I've got quite a few friends who do like hand painting, and I just think it looks amazing.
Oh my gosh, I feel like this is the grass is greener on the other side because I look at spray painters and I'm like, "Oh, you do it so fast and it's so smooth," and I'm like, I look at it and like, "I need to do more of that," and so I think it's the same.
It definitely is. Like my friend, she says the same. She's like, "Oh, I want to start spray painting more," and I'm like, "But why? It's amazing. It looks so good." But I don't know. I think as artists, we probably like to challenge ourselves. So it's always like the next thing that we see. Like I was saying, I predominantly paint wildlife stuff, but I kind of got to a point in my career where I was just like getting a little bit complacent with what I was doing, and I was just like, this is getting a bit like, I don't know, a bit boring for me, and I wanted to do something different. So I started painting portraits, and then like, it's like, what's the next thing that I want to change and do?
Yeah, I was looking at your reels, which are very good, by the way. You do really good videos that get to the point really quickly. Like you do some that have the blank wall and then you have the finished product. And I'm like, I like that.
I've got ADHD, so my brain's like it needs things quick.
Exactly, yes. Perfect. But you do I was noticing that, yeah, you do wildlife and portraits, and that's such a rarity that people can do both. So bravo to you for you even have murals with just hands. Like, hands are the one of the hardest things
Oh,
to paint, that and faces.
I love painting hands. I don't know where it's come from either. Like, I don't know why. I was like, oh, just really enjoying painting hands at the moment. And like, I genuinely think it is like a boredom thing for me and keeping things really interesting with how I paint. Because like I did get really stifled. It was like over lockdown, and I'm sure everyone had like their own struggles during lockdown. Like a lot of people that didn't paint started painting, and a lot of people who painted like stopped painting. And it's like a long time to like reflect on your work. And I realized that I was just getting a bit bored because I knew how to paint birds, know how to paint them. So like I need something that's gonna like challenge me. And I think that's why I like painting hands so much, is because they're so intricate, and I don't know, I feel there's so many different shapes they can do, and they can look weird. If you look at your hands for too long, they look so weird anyway. So when you're painting it, you're like, oh, this is a lot. But I kind of like that. And yeah, I was lucky enough to do a portrait grant. We have an arts council in the UK, and you can apply to like develop your own creative practice, which is like an amazing grant to do. So my one was just to like paint portraits. I kind of told myself like, if I could paint a portrait, I can paint anything, because it felt like the most impossible task for me. And I just set myself on it. I was like, I'm going to stop enjoying painting soon if I'm doing the same thing. So I need to like get over this fear. So that's what I did. I spent like a year and a half trying to tackle, I mean, I'm still tackling portraits, but like, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So how I guess what are the recent mural projects that you've done? Because I wanna highlight some of the things that you've done recently or what things are on the books or because you do some really big impressive stuff. And I want to know who's hiring you for these for these things in all these different locations. Talk about your art nowadays lately and then we'll get into like how you got your first customer and all that afterwards.
Yeah, I think recently I have to look at my Instagram. At the moment, my brain is like a sieve because I've been quite busy, which is amazing. I do a lot of community-based projects, stuff organized by the council, and I think that's like a place where wildlife art sits really well. So a lot of people want to bring wildlife into the public domain. I mean, that's something that I'm quite passionate about as well, is people being able to see nature, even though it's an art form, you bring it into like a concrete structure. So like I think it's quite popular with local councils. But I mean, they're kind of like my favorite projects to do because it kind of hits what I want to do as an artist. I like painting wildlife. I like telling stories as well. And I think that sits really well with local councils, whether it's like cultural stuff. So I have a lot of them coming up, but I also do a lot of street art festivals, which for me, I always try and tell people to do as many as you can, because I got a little bit obsessed with them. And I think they're a great place to like practice what you want to do. Well, on a spiel now, completely off course from what we're talking about.
I like it.
But yeah, a lot of street art festivals. And sometimes they can pay money, not always, but like you can find some that do pay. And if you can get into like a system of going to them, you know, you can find ones that will pay you. That's even better. But yeah, local councils.
What do you mean by local councils?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works in America. So we have, say, like I live in Sheffield. We have like council. I guess is it like it's probably an American word for this. I don't know what it is. Like a government, smaller government body of
Okay,
people.
like a community,
Yeah,
okay, like a town
yeah.
people who, like, put their
Yeah. It's like a smaller political. We got like the mayors. You've got like the mayor office,
okay,
and then like the local council kind of like do everything for like cities and stuff. But they have like pots of money and grants to like make places look better, basically. So whether that's putting money into like planting things or public artwork, there's places that do that. But I get all sorts of stuff, to be honest. 'Cause I only like to post stuff on my Instagram that I think resonates with myself. But I do have like more corporate clients that I work for. But yeah, I don't tend to post it because I feel that I should only post the things that I want to do because then I get more of them. If I stop, I noticed at one point in my life I was posting things that I wasn't enjoying when I was getting more of them. So I kind of tailor it now. So it's like specifically stuff that I like doing or that I want to do. Going back to the portrait thing, like I noticed when I started doing portraits, it was still hard to like let people know that that's what I was doing. And I was having to like constantly push for it because like people didn't know that I could do that now. So like I had to keep posting and finding time when I could do a portrait, then post about it, and then I got a bit more traction. And now I get more inquiries about not just wildlife stuff, which is great. But it does take a long time to kind of like it took like 2 years for people to start realizing that they see me for other things. So yeah, it's like a lot of graft to do that.
for sure, okay. So do you paint for businesses? Like, do business owners reach out to you there? I ask that because that's who I primarily paint for in the United States, and I have some Artist Academy members and students who are in the UK or just parts of Europe, and they're like I hear a lot that murals aren't as big over there as they are over here, and I don't know what advice to give because I'm not over there. And so, do you paint for businesses, and like what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I paint for businesses. I've painted for UPS before. Trying to think of other things off the top of my head, but like universities, quite a few. But I would say it's a lot to do with word of mouth. Like sometimes I'm so surprised like how somebody has heard about me. And I think my like top tip for kind of connecting with more businesses is just being like as prolific as possible with I mean I don't like posting on Instagram that much, but I feel like I actually can't because like I said, I stick to what I want to post about, so it stops like the amount of things that I can post about. Even just like showing stuff on your stories. So I do post a lot on my stories, and usually it's just nonsense, just like my day to day stuff. But yeah, the more that you can post about you being active and painting, I just think, and also like you're doing smaller jobs, it can like turn into like other jobs because people just hear and speak about you and they've heard you from this smaller project. Or I'd say it's a lot of word of mouth and Instagram. But yeah, I just if I've got like a quiet space, I will try and just still do as much as I can, which going back to the street art festivals or like, painting jams, meeting other people. You don't know where like them links can take you. So yeah, quieter points. I always make sure I try and get myself out there, even if I'm not feel like I'm going to be earning much from it at all, or like at all. So yeah, I think that kind of turns into a little bit of a snowball effect. But yeah, in America has a lot bigger walls, and I think in the UK we have weird like we don't have like big flat walls. We have a lot of brickwork, so it can be a bit of a challenge sometimes to get them walls like approved. But I would say it is getting like a hell of a lot more popular, which is nice.
Okay, yeah. So yours was mostly word of mouth. How did you get your first couple mural jobs?
So when I started painting 10 years ago, I kind of didn't really see it like it was going to be a career, mostly just because like I guess at the time it wasn't really the call for it as there is now. Like I said, I was just really, really prolific. I was painting the time. This is at the very beginning when I probably had a lot more energy than what I do now. Like 3 times a week, just going out and painting small walls, practicing, doing stuff for me that would then kind of progress into like more jobs. So like eventually somebody would be like, "Oh, well, I'll give you some money for some paint if," and that would just cover my paint. And I was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing. Like brilliant. Yeah, sure, I'll do that." Because I was just surprised back then, to be honest, that people would want even to pay for the paint to do it. And then it just like over the years, people would start giving me a bit more money and a bit more money. And then at one point I was like balancing 2 jobs and I was like, I can't balance them anymore. Like I have to like give this a go. And I guess there's like a point in your career where you're just like, if you're like so overwhelmed doing these like 2 things, it might be time to like take that leap, which is scary. My studio partner did the same like 3 years ago, and he was just like, I can't do both. And I was like, it's probably time to take that jump.
Yeah, for sure. It can definitely be. I talked to some Artist Academy members and they're like, they're in the middle of wanting to make the jump and trying to find time. And it's just like embracing that crazy busy time, but it definitely pays off for sure to just go for it.
And I think there is like an element of like doing things for free to learn about them. Obviously, not selling yourself short like at all. Like I still well, like for the street art festivals, like sometimes I'll go to them and they'll like pay for your travel to come down, but like you can gain some followers from it, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you don't know who them people are, and sometimes they can be really like diehard followers or like share your stuff because they love street art so much. And yeah, I think one of like my best tips is just to keep painting and doing what you love to do, even like if you've got a break, like to not think about, that money aspect so much and just be like, I need to go and do something for me and like show people what I can do. Because I just think it's like I said, it's a snowball effect. Like the more you paint, I think like the more kind of the world will give back to you. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Keep him
sure.
busy.
Yeah. How long did it take you to go full time?
It was quite a while, but I couldn't really. I think I learned how to paint while learning how to spray paint. Like I could draw a bit, but like nothing like, spectacular. I didn't have a style. I didn't like, so I started basically from scratch. So I think it probably took me about 5 years, but that's just bearing in mind that I was, I didn't have like a certain way of painting. Like my paintings were like incredibly cartoony, and they wouldn't be so sell. Like I've actually just like compiled loads of old photos. I'm gonna do like a 10-year of painting reel, and you'll see like the difference is just like it's so far away from where I am now. But yeah, the reason it's taken 5 years is because back then it was literally just a hobby, and I didn't even think about the idea that I could be selling it until about maybe 3 years in, when I was just like, oh, people are actually interested in this. So like I think if you've got like a style and something that you want to show and you can paint, then it's certainly going to be a lot quicker than my process, because my process is definitely like just going to graffiti jams and and then it just like turning into something that I can really control.
For sure. So you seem like somebody who your marketing strategy is go paint cool things and get attention from it and go to street art festivals and all the stuff. Did you do anything like an email list? Did you do like having a website up, like any kind of like of that, they would say like boring business stuff on the back end?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of boring business stuff for sure. Yeah, I set up a website like probably after 3 or 4 years. Like I should have done it way earlier. I use my website as my proper portfolio. I mean, Instagram mostly, but the website has like literally all like my favorite bits in it. Emailing list, that is something that I really, really do want to do. It's like me and business cards. I don't even have business cards, and it's been 10 years, and I really, really need business cards. So I know it's really bad. I like the amount of times while I'm painting and people are like, "Do you have a business card?" And I'm like, "I have my phone number." you, can, you can take my phone number. So yeah, definitely business cards is important, but I still haven't done that. Emailing list, I definitely want to get on, because I mean, Instagram's terrifying because like one minute you can be doing well I've seen this just like from friends. And then the next, like they can't get any traction, and I've seen it. At the moment, I just feel like incredibly lucky because for some reason, even though I'm not posting all the time, it's my reels still seem to get like a bit of traction. I don't know whether that's because they're really colorful murals or like because the algorithm knows something that I don't. But I'd say that, like I said, with the stories thing, I think one thing that does keep people still connected because I don't post. I mean, I think I probably post like 4 times a month, maybe more if I'm painting more. But in the winter, I don't post for like 3 months. Like it would, like I won't post anything to my feed for like 3 months, which I feel incredibly guilty about. And I think when I come back, it's going to be all upside down. But I do keep in touch with the people that follow me through my stories, and I do post on my stories like every day, even if it's just little things. I try to post like every day, even if I'm just like on an adventure somewhere. And I think people can kind of relate to you being like a real person as well. So I think it's nice to post about that. And I think that definitely helps like keep in touch with your followers, and so like respond to things and I'll chat to them back and stuff like that. So
Okay, great. No, I think this is good because people listening, they're going to hear this and hopefully they realize and think, okay, she's had a 10-year mural career, but she doesn't have an email list. So they're like, okay, I don't need an email list. Like, and so
yeah.
she has a website. So eventually I'll get mine up. Okay, I can do that. And I only have to post once a week, maybe like four times a month. It's like minimal. It's fine.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, just show up on stories.
Yeah, definitely. Show up on stories. It just gives it's easy to do. Honestly, I just post about the most stupid things sometimes. Like I'll just see like one or like just something that's kind of pretty or like just something silly. Like a lot of them are honestly like quite silly. Or like me having a beer. Like it's like stuff that's kind of just real. Stuff I want to post about, and like 80% of the time it's not to do with work. It's in fact mostly it's never to do with the work. It's just like me doing like other things, and every now and again I'll like post about like something that's going to be coming up, but I don't really think about my stories that hard. I just kind of like put something up, and I think like at first it was like a little bit daunting because I was like, oh, I don't want to mix up work and life. But actually, I think people really like that. And like going back to the website thing, I don't think people really look at my website that much. So I think even that's irrelevant. I just send that to my clients, like if I want something that's like portfolio based. But even scratching that, like when I apply for things, I use PDF, which I like set out to clients. And this is like, I think, a way that I wish I could. I don't know if I can share it actually, but I could potentially send it to you at some point. But
I would love to see it. Yeah. Can you describe it?
yeah, if it can't, it doesn't matter. I will share it with you later
Okay,
to
yeah.
send to people if you want. But I will describe it anyway. But the first time I did this, it was for a really big job, and I really, really wanted this job. It was like a 20-meter high wall. It was the biggest wall I've done to date still, in the middle of Manchester, which is like a pretty major city in the UK. I wanted it so bad, and it was like there was only two of us that were up for grabs, and I was like, I need to get this job, and I put like 2 days into this like PDF. But it started off like the first page would be like just my logo, nice and simple. The next page kind of just I don't know, just like go through it so I can actually remember myself what's on my PDF.
Yeah. Yeah, I like detail.
Yeah, I need to go because I genuinely think this helps gets me a lot of jobs, and I've told this to like a few other people because I think the time the clients can see the extra time that like you put into things, especially if you're like up against other people and they've just asked, oh, we want just a 20 like word proposal or just like a written proposal. I don't listen to what they say, and I will do a visual proposal because a lot of clients who are wanting artistic work actually struggle to see how things work. So I made it a very visual, like step by step proposal that would just kind of like explains everything. And I think it's helped me get like quite a lot of jobs. Describe to you what it's like. So yeah, the first kind of page would have my logo on and my website and my Instagram. And then the next page, I would have like my bio. It's all nice and big because I don't want loads of information on like one page. So like the next page would be like my bio, nice and short, and a picture, always pictures. Then I would have my previous work. Then after that, I kind of have like an approach. So I like tell them how it works. I say there's like a creative process consists of 5 clear stages, which is research, mood board, design, develop, apply. And I just kind of go over my whole process. And if they have a brief, then I have a whole section for the brief. It's just basically a like super visual, and it just explains my whole process so they understand that. And yeah, I just think that works, right? Rather than just having something written, just visuals for people is quite good. You show them how like the mock-up works as well.
Yeah. Whenever you're describing your process, are there visuals on that as well? And what are they?
Yeah. So when I describe my process, I have this little picture, which is like from a past job that I've done. And it'll be like a tiny picture of like a mood board of ideas. And then underneath it is like the design, and then that design mocked up onto the wall. So they can see where like that mood board of pictures then relates to that final design. And then they see the mock up on the wall. And then also, because I've already done that job, the actual painting. And then they can see like, oh, that makes total sense. That fits from there, that goes to there is finished. I know it sounds really simple, but like I just think for people who aren't super visual, I think it's really helpful for them to see that process. So any past jobs that you might have done, it's I think it's quite useful to show that process just on like a A4 page on a PDF. Just like this is the process, and then people are like, "Oh, that makes total sense."
Yeah. Okay. I love that. Okay. So taking a past project that you're proud of and cutting it down into the sketch that you sent them, the mock up that you did on the
Yeah,
wall, the
yeah.
finished product. Okay. I love it. The mood board that you used. I love it.
Yeah, and I think that just kind of like makes that. I mean, they put a lot of trust in that as well because they're like, oh, well, he's clearly competent because she's like, this is like her process. So yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy to send one of them to you to share if you like, because
Sure.
I honestly think it's a great thing to do. It's worked for me ever since I did it that one time. I put all that effort in and it worked. And now I just have a pre-made one that I just change every time. So it's not even like I'm making a new one every time. It's all like ready to go. I just like change the brief, change the costs on there. Like it's all just super clear. But yeah, that's how I kind of think it helps.
Okay. So whenever you're showing past work, are you doing that just on one page? And how many past works are you showing?
I do mostly like 1 or 2 paintings per page.
Okay.
I guess this is from like a graphic design, my graphic design mind, because I did graphic design and illustration on in university. But like when I do past works, it's normally about like 5 pages. But it's like I don't like to put too many things in because I think like having too much is too much. You just got to think about like what your client wants, specifically handpick things that you think that they're going to want from what they've said in their brief. I don't like to put too many in. And yeah, like 1 or 2 per page because people can see it big then. They're like, it's just there on their page and they're flicking through the PDF and they can see your pictures like high res, nice and big, gone through them. And you've had your bio first, all them paintings, and then you go on to like the costs and things. So you're getting them excited at the beginning. You're like, oh, here's my bio. Like these are the places I've been. These are the things that I've done. Tell them your insurance as well. Like that just shows that you're like professional. Yeah, I like to put in them little details. I'm like, oh, I'm insured to work up to 20 meters in height. And like even things that like they probably don't need to know, like not all jobs are going to be 20 meters in height, but like it just kind of shows that you know what you're doing. Having like insurance information in there. I'm like, oh, I'm insured to 5 million. Just pop that in the bio, and then like doesn't have to be long. It's just like little things that will kind of show your client immediately that you know what you're doing. And I think that's like quite important to do.
Definitely.
I have 10 years experience in murals and mural logistics with a full IPAF card and insured to work up to 20 meters in height. So it's just short, but like I just think that kind of shows that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it makes you stand out from those who are just dabbling in it. Like you are an experienced
Mm,
muralist because like the muralists
yeah.
that I meet who are experienced muralists have insurance, and those are the ones that are typically the better ish or the ones that just aren't as new. So that definitely okay, yeah, because you have it, you might as well flaunt it. You paid for
Exactly.
it, you
And
might as well.
yeah, like like my iPath as well, it just shows like I'm sure to use a lift. Like, I've gone through this process. And I think like I learned that I did like events. So I learned a lot of logistics and it's taken me a long time to get like where I am, especially when you're painting murals. The logistics in them can be crazy. I painted train stations. That was a nightmare. As you can imagine, like how the health and safety and the risk and method statements you have to like write for them kind of jobs. You have to do a lot of research, but like it's all like learning. And like eventually it just gets a bit second nature, which is great. But like, it happens slowly as well, usually. Like, I mean, started painting small walls and then eventually just slowly got in bigger and bigger and bigger. And you're just like learning these things. It's just important to make like templates, I think, so you're not constantly rewriting everything that you've written again, which I think is quite useful to do. I have templates for a lot of things now, different types of jobs. They're like really complicated and
That's perfect. Oh, you are doing the boring business side.
oh yeah, I'm really into logistics.
It shows. Well, I'm sure that's played a big part in your success. It's just being prepared instead of just, sending a couple photos or just sending something written. You're like, "Oh no, I have this that I worked for 2 days on and I can just plug and
Yeah,
play." Really, because it only takes,
exactly.
a short amount of time to get it really good. And then if you're
Yeah,
applying for something with, portraits, you kind of plug different photos in and whatnot, but then you can just send it. How many
yeah.
festivals do you apply for versus how many do you get? And like how many in the
Oh,
beginning, how many now? Just to give people a reference
um,
of this, because you're inspiring me. I'm like, okay, I want to go apply for more stuff. I'm going to use your tips.
yeah, yeah, I'm pretty on it. I apply to a lot, and like 85% I don't get them, but I apply to like so many and eventually it's just like throwing a big net out and then hoping that you'll get a few back. If you just apply for one, like the chances of like going to one of the festivals is pretty low. I apply even if I've not even thought about when they are, I will still apply for them. Like you can always say no if you can't make it or whatever, but like I apply to a lot. I don't get many back, but sometimes like this Waterford Walls is one that I do quite frequently now because I've been going back so many times. They want you to come back, which is really nice, and that does happen. Like being social at them events does pay off as well. Being obviously kind to people, and it makes a big difference when people want you to come back as well. So
Very cool. Awesome. Well, do you have any last bit of tips for artists who want to do what you do, but they're scared to get started or they're just about to get started and they're inspired by hearing you? And so, what is your best advice for artists who are just starting out?
yeah, I think it's just going back to what I said before is like really, really just paint what you want to paint and commit to it. Because I remember when I was at university and I was just trying to paint how my tutors wanted me to paint, wasn't enjoying it. I was getting bad grades because I was trying to please somebody else. And as soon as I realized that I just needed to paint for myself and I started doing that, that's when I started to get working, was because I was doing it for me. And that means I wanted to do it more. And then I was painting more and people would see me painting more and then you develop yourself. So whatever makes you happy, don't overthink it because like that's you and that's what you like to paint. Like some people paint some really strange things and they're making a lot of money out of it. Like it's true. Like you just need to like just commit to what you like to do and try not to get in your own head about it because I was there and I just didn't get it and just when I started spray painting and I just painted for fun and I think that's why I've been successful is because like I started painting for fun. I didn't go in like, oh, it's for money. But I can understand like when you're wanting to do that, like then you're going to be really in your own head. But like I think just the key is just try not to listen to your head too much and just paint what you like to paint and show it to the world and then things will start coming back.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. You're inspiring me to paint more of what I want to paint because I do a lot of things for customers
Yeah.
and they're not super cool sometimes. I'm like, but I would have a little bit less dread if I just painted what I want to paint. So yeah, I'm sure you've inspired others too. But thank you so much, Megan. coming on and chatting with us. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, no, thank you for inviting me. It's great fun. Listen to me ramble.
I loved it. It was great. This is great. It is action taking tips is what we love. And you gave very specifics. And I think we're going to get some good reviews on this. So thank you so much. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Artist Academy podcast. I hope you're enjoying this Muralist Month feature with all of the large scale painting talk. I know I am. But if you are wanting to start dabbling in murals yourself, or you think that you could just use a little help with that, I want to again point out all of the freebies that I offer. I just did a video training on how I price my mural projects. So I put out a pricing guide in the past. I have since updated it, and I've attached a video training with examples, like visual examples of projects that I've done with price tags on them. So I share exactly what I painted, what I charged for it. I even share some of the murals that I did early on that I drastically undercharged for. I show you that, and I show you what I would have charged for now, and just how I price things now versus back then. And yeah, I basically open up my website and go through photos of like, oh, yep, charged $5,000 for that one, did this wrong on this one, and you get the whole inside scoop. I share this in the inside of the Artist Academy as I do them. So Artist Academy members, you already have this training and you already see things like this as they're happening. I literally finish a project and then I share it inside of the Academy and say it went really well, or we had this hiccup, or I charged this much and then I profited this much. I spent this much in help. I spent this much in supplies. I share it all in the Artist Academy as I go. So I was like, okay, they really enjoy that. I'm going to take a mini version of that, put it on our training mural pricing guide thing, and you get to get a little snippet of that too. So go to artistacademy.co/pricing, or really better yet, just click the link in this podcast and it'll take you right to the pricing training, and you get to be a snoop and see how I price my stuff. And if you want to get even snoopier, you can also go to artistacademy.co/supply, where you get, you guessed it, my mural supply list with links and everything to all of my mural supplies. So you get to see how I price, and you get to see what I use to paint. So 2 big things. Take advantage of it if you're curious at all. So the mural supply list, I also include a video. I take you inside of my art studio and show you exactly what products that I have between the paint and why I use this paint over this other paint. And I show you what it looks like. I show you all the different brushes. I show you my 3 different ladders that I own and why I have 3 ladders and which is best for which project. I go pretty thorough. I show you everything. I even show you how I tote things around so that I don't have to make 10 trips to the car. It's all there. So artistacademy.co/supply. Just go to the show notes of here and you can click the links. But I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and I will catch you on the next one.